Hey everyone, so we had a question asked to us about exercises to help mobilise the ankle. So before we go into those exercises, a few things to go through. First of all, when we talk about mobilising, we're assuming that the area that we're looking to mobilise is stuck or not moving enough. Pain isn't enough of an indicator for that, because actually pain just identifies that there's an issue in the area. So it could mean actually that the joint is moving too much, in which case it needs stabilising more than mobilising. But on this occasion, we're assuming that the joint isn't moving enough, which could be seen from, say, doing a squat or a lunge, and you're not quite getting the movement required in the ankle to do that. So as we're assuming that, we're going to go through a few tests, and we're going to then do some exercises, some mobilising things for that. The area that we're really looking at the most is this area here. The bone at the top of the ankle here, which is the talus, often comes forward when we sprain our ankle, or if we have a recurrent injury to the ankle, a recurrent stress onto there, then that can just create a bit of restriction from that bone and the joints above and below it. So we're particularly going to be concentrating on that one, because when that gets stuck, it stops the foot coming up. So we're going to go through some tests first. Those tests will help to identify how much it's stuck, but also give you an idea as to your progression as you're doing those exercises. So we're going to go through some tests to see how the movement is in the ankle. And like we said, we're particularly looking at the ones in dorsiflexion, so bringing the feet up. So just lying down here, we can see when we try to bring the feet up, if there is a restriction on one side or the other, or both, but usually one side or the other. So if I can get you to bring your feet up as high as you can. So in this example here, we can see that the foot is coming up nice and high on this side, but on this side, it's not coming quite as high as we would like. All this identifies is that this side needs mobilising. Doesn't say anything else about where the problem is, but what we know is we'd be looking at this joint here, that talus we were talking about, potentially the calf tension, we'd be looking at those as well. There's other things that come into play, but ultimately when you're doing this at home, these are the things that we'd particularly be looking at. We can look in the other direction as well, so we've done dorsiflexion, we can do plantar flexion, although this one is more likely to be seen by us than that one. So if we can get you to bring your toes pointed as far as you can. That's it. So in this example, you can see that this one's going nice and straight, it's pointing out quite far, and then on this one, it's not pointing as far as we would like. So once again, all that tells us is that this side needs mobilising, and there could be stuff going on with the joints in the ankle itself. It can be the tissue coming down through into the foot as well. There's a number of things that we would probably be looking at. So now we're going to go into a bit more of a functional test. And once again, these are just to point out, as you are looking to mobilise these joints or areas, how you're progressing. So as you are getting better, you would hope to see that both are moving down equally at the same time. Okay, so we're going to go through a bit of a functional test now. Once again, these tests are not only to see if something's not working as well on one side as the other, or both together, but it's also to give you a bit of a point of reference. So as you're doing these exercises, you might then find that the one side that isn't working so well is moving better. So it's worth noting how close and how far that joint's moving. So on this one, what we're going to do is we're going to get the foot up to the wall, side on, so we can get a line which we're going to put the other foot to. So if we can start by doing that. Good. So now what we're going to do from this point is we're going to try and get the knee as close to the wall as we can. We want that foot nice and straight, and we want that knee to go over the foot. So as we can see there, the heel's staying on the floor, the knee's coming in nice and close to the wall. This joint is moving quite nicely, so we know that actually on this side the whole ankle area is nice and mobile. So we then swap onto the other side. That's it. And then what we can see here is that the knee doesn't want to come in quite as far, and sometimes if you're trying to push the knee even closer, the heel sometimes then comes up off of the floor, in which case we know that actually this side isn't working so well. And once again, that's all we know. We don't know whether it's the joint here or whether it's the calf here. You might feel that actually the calf or the Achilles is really pulling quite a lot, or you might feel that it's jamming in here. But either way, we know that this side needs to be mobilised. So we'll go on to some exercises. Right, so we know that this side needs to be mobilised. So similar to the test, one of the first and basic mobilising exercises we can do is pretty much similar to what we were doing in the test. So we're going to stay there and we're going to bring the knee further forward, and you're going to keep it in line with the middle toe, so into the second toe really, and from there you're then going to bring it back, and then you're going to go again, so knee straight over that second toe and then back, and you're going to just keep on mobilizing that. You're going to feel that it could be a bit of a stretch into the back. You could feel that it's mobilizing through the front here. That's a basic one. If it's through this area that's the problem, then actually we need to mobilize this. So we'll go on one step further in the next mobilizing exercise. Okay, so one step further from what we did, we're going to mobilize the ankle, but we're going to put that pressure in through that talus that we were talking about that often sticks up, so that as we're mobilizing, we've got pressure acting straight down onto that bone and affecting the joints on either side. So, if I can borrow your foot, we're going to put a dyno band around that point. Good, heel onto there. And what I've done here is I've just got a dyno band and I've tied it around a fixed fixture of some sort. The radiator's not on, so it's not melting the dyno band. But what we're going to put, where we're putting the dyno band on this side, is around that talus here. And ideally what we want is, you see this bone, the knobbly bit on the outside of your foot, we want that dyno band to come underneath. So actually the angle for this is probably about right. In fact, I'll probably get the foot on a little bit more. That's it, so we're fully on. And from here we're going to mobilise in the same way that we did against the wall. So bringing the knee forward as far as feels comfortable, and then back. Good, and again, and back. So in this case, this was the only thing that we had was an appropriate height, but the surface isn't quite as flat. Ideally, if you have a step or something like that that's nice and flat, you can make sure that heel stays onto the surface that you're on, and you can mobilise this really well. So you're going to do that a few times, 10 to 15 times to mobilise it, and that just helps. You can then increase the pressure if needed. So once you start off pretty soft, you can then make sure you can tie it a little bit harder, so there's a bit more resistance pulling back onto that. So other things that can help with the mobility of the ankle, we mentioned about the calf as well. So in clinic we would obviously do a lot of tissue work, and there's nothing stopping you doing that at home as well. So you've got to remember that the calf then becomes the Achilles, which joins in here in the heel. So you can just do some work yourself on the muscles using your hands, or some people use the stick, which is like almost a roller that you can move up the calf from that. You can also use a foam roller, anything like that, that will just help to take some of the tension out of the calf. Then you can just do a standard calf stretch where you're against the wall with your legs straight, just stretching that calf muscle out. If you do all of that and you're still getting the restriction in the ankle, then it might actually just need an adjustment. The chiros and the osteos tend to do an adjustment on that talus, where we bring it into this position, get onto the talus and lift it up and give it a nice adjustment there. And if it's really stuck, it might just actually need that. But it's worth trying those exercises first and see how you get on. Let us know how you get on with that, and yeah, it'd be great to hear from you.